It had been a busy Wednesday. Meeting after meeting, visit after visit, I was lost in my tasks when I came across a friend. He looked somber, clearly shaken. I went up and asked him what was going on. And that's when he told me about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I listened as he described yet another needless act of violence. He grieved aloud. Somehow this one feels different. I pray he's right. I pray that we are finally tired of killing, tired of hatred and anger of the other in America. I pray that we acknowledge that things in our country are not right. Theologian Walter Brueggemann wrote, "The real criticism begins in the capacity to grieve, because that is the most visceral announcement that things are not right." He says, only in the empire are we pressed and urged and invited to pretend that things are all right, either in the dean's office or in our marriage or in the hospital room. And as long as the empire can keep the pretense alive that things are all right, there will be no real grieving, no real criticism. But things are not right, and we all feel it. Schools hire resource officers and practice active shooter drills. Police frisk and wand spectators at small-town football games. Churches keep cell phones in the pulpit just in case. This is not normal. Things are not right. It is not natural for Americans to fear the freedom of speech, the freedom of education, the freedom of worship. Any voice who says fear is the price we pay for liberties is simply helping keep the pretense alive that everything is fine. But on Wednesday, once again, we grieved. We must hold on to our grief. It is real. It is authentic. It is undeniable. It is the world we are living in, and it is not right. Any prophet of God would say that only in our grief, our lament, do we begin to imagine an alternative reality. Brueggemann continues. The first question, he says, is how can we have enough freedom to imagine and articulate a real historical newness in our situation? That is not to ask, as Israel's prophets ever asked, if this freedom is realistic or politically practical or economically viable. He says, to begin with such questions is to concede everything to the empire even before we begin. We need not ask whether it is realistic or practical or viable, but whether it is imaginable. We need to ask if our consciousness and imagination have been so assaulted and co-opted by the empire that we have been robbed of the courage or power to think an alternative thought. And so I leave you with this. In the midst of your grief, what can you imagine? Are you so captivated by the empire that life is secondary, that killings are the price we pay to be American? Or perhaps are you, like so many others, beginning to dream, beginning to imagine a society where life is valued above all else? Friends, I don't know the path forward, but I know God is there in that dream. For that is what the prophets ask of us, to dream. I love you. God bless you. And I will see you on Sunday.